Hello. Okay, good evening. I call to order the workshop of October 15th, 2018. First item on the agenda, Ms. Sabrina Best to give an update on New Year's Eve Auburn, our kickoff for our 150th anniversary. And Sabrina is going to run down council. You all have an outline in front of you to kind of go along with. Ms. Best was out for the last week and a half, and at the end of this, if there's anything that she might have missed, I'll fill in the blanks. But I think you got about 99% of it.
Thank you. Mayor and Council, so this is a basic overview of what has been confirmed so far. I do just want to stress that there are other items that are being worked on and talked through, but I wanted to put down in a format the confirmed items so far. So I'll just kind of walk through most of this. So the basic info, we'll be celebrating New Year's on New Year's Eve, so that's Monday, December 31st. It will run from 6 p.m. to midnight, and the midnight is a loose end time because not everyone's going to leave right after fireworks. It will take some time to get people moving and going, so 1 a.m. is probably the realistic end wrap up, but the bands will stop playing by midnight. It will be located downtown. We'll be blocking off Main Street, so we'll be utilizing Festival Plaza and Main Street from Court Street intersection down. We are working and finalizing the map. Once that is complete, you'll see that in the mass gathering permit that will have to come in front of you guys. The price is free, so we wanted to offer a free concert, so to speak. We wanted people to come out and enjoy themselves, but we didn't want it to compete with Winterfest, which will be happening a few weeks after. So we really tried to designate New Year's Auburn geared towards the 21 plus crowd. We want this to be an adult focused event. So the concept is an outdoor concert, bring your own lawn chair. Kind of similar to those that happen in Freeport at LL Beans and others that have happened in Portland. The entertainment, so we have 3 bands that will be coming to play. Justin and Shelley Carver, they play some classical covers, classical rock. They don't play in big, large places, but I think this would be a really good, they're the local ties, kind of. Then we have the LA Harley Band. They have performed at Winterfest last year. They're great. They do a good selection of music. Have a pretty fun crowd that follows them as well. And then Hello Newman will be kind of our headlining band. They are a well-known 90s cover band from Portland. I've seen them and traveled to go see them a few times, and they're really fun. They have a lot of the band, the instruments. They're very well known in the Portland area. So the stage, we've batted that idea around many, many times on how we want to, is it going to be in a tent completely? Are we going to keep it open? But we're doing something kind of unique and different in that the stage is actually a trailer, and it almost looks like an 18-wheeler boxcar that just kind of drops down, and it has the stage in front of it, and then it provides kind of a green room space for the bands behind it. So that means that we will have very little time needed for the setup and takedown. That was the big thing, because we want to put the stage in the road, and so this allows for us to not have the road completely blocked off for a very long period of time. Excuse me. Let's see. Vendors. So we will have alcohol provided at this event, and instead of having a small bar section that has to be roped off, we wanted almost the whole area to be able, so you can buy your alcohol but still be able to watch the band, go over and mingle with friends a little further away, go to the food truck area. We wanted to make it kind of free roam, similar to the summer block party. So if any of you had attended that, you were able to just freely walk around with your alcohol beverage. We have been working with the police department on those rules and regulations, and we've identified that we will need 2 to 3 secure locations to get into that area, where IDs will be checked in either a stamp or bracelet, some type of form to know that, because it's free, so you should be able to come and go, similar to the summer block party. But we realize that we need to just, the security part of it, making sure that there's only 2 or 3 entrances and exits that are manned. Food vendors, we felt the easiest way to kind of serve that was to reach out to some local food trucks. We would have them, set up in Festival Plaza in the appropriate distance that is needed away from Gritty's and House of Bacon. I wouldn't foresee having, it's not a food truck festival, but we do want to make sure that we're offering a good variety. We are hoping for rather, 2,000 to 3,000, if not more, turnout. So we need to make sure that we have an appropriate amount of food available so lines aren't down and around the corner. And with that food truck area, we will have some tables and chairs set out so people can, stand in line, still see the band, listen to it, still have the ability to sit down and still be a part of it so it's not secluded by itself. We have confirmed a photo booth vendor. They will set up similar to weddings where you can have different props and things and have a background. We're hoping to kind of put in some 150th props, which would be fun, to help kind of brand and showcase the logo. And it's just a great way, a fun way to remember the night as well. Fireworks, so we will have fireworks show. It will go off at midnight. Central Maine Pyrotechnics, they will be our fireworks provider. They will be shooting it off over in Lewiston in Samar Payne Park. It will go, and it will be shot out over the river, which will be a perfect viewing area in Festival Plaza area. We had done this at Winterfest 2 years ago, I believe, and it was very successful. So we're excited to be able to offer that. It will be a minimum of a $5,000 show, depending on the rest of the budget. This could increase depending on what we have available for funds. We will have a VIP area. This was part of the sponsorship packets that and the partnership packets that were put out there. So many tickets will be provided to the different levels. And then we want to make sure that we're also able to sell some VIP packages and tickets to the public. There will be a limited number, but with this VIP area, we are definitely, there's other areas, things that we're talking about right now, but not confirmed, so I didn't want to add it to this list, so that's why I said it's includes but not limited to. Prime viewing area of the band. There will be some type of a tent. The size is to be determined right now, but it won't cover the whole VIP area because we're looking to have up to 150 people in this area, and that would be a really big tent. So there will be some type of a tent for coverage from potential weather. There will be a sitting area, so we will provide them with the seats, so they don't have to bring their own. It will have its own private bar area, so they don't have to stand in line. There will be some form of a heating station. What that will entail is to be determined, but it will be some type of heat being provided. And then it will have its own private entrance and exit. Some other items that are either confirmed or they're being worked on right now is we'll have parking located in the parking garage in Great Falls Plaza. We will have 24 porta potties available, 3 of which will be handicapped. I talked about the tables and chairs. We are going to put in a designated smoking area. This was something that the committee, as we talked about other experiences and festivals, that we really wanted to make sure we tried to identify a safe place for smokers to go. We will be providing various fire pits that will have the screens similar to your backyard ones. We had those available during the ice bar at Winterfest last year. It worked really well. So we'll have a few of those out. We talked about, it is a free concert, but in order to plan ahead for crowd control, security, and so on, we wanted to try and find a way to get a head count. More than just putting a Facebook post out there saying, hey, you know, click if you're attending, because those, I mean, I click that I'm attending to a lot of things and never go, so they're not always reliable. So we're looking at trying to find a way to get a ticket, and with the new ticketing software system that we have out at the ice arena for the Twin City Thunder, that is something that we can utilize, which is great. So it's used in more ways than just the team. It will also help with gaining any demographics of those who are attending. We are working on connecting with the local hotels to try and just offer some good discounts and packages, as well as local transportation. We want to make sure that people are coming and enjoying themselves, but we want to make sure they get home safe as well. We will establish a chem-free fireworks viewing area. We understand that, yes, we're trying to target the 21 plus ages, but we know that there are going to be those or families that will want to come and view the fireworks, but that won't be able to be allowed into that 21 area. So we are going to identify a safe place for a chem-free viewing area. And then the last thing is we are looking to do some type of a ball drop or something similar. We hope to try and tie it in with the Auburn theme. This is something that staff is working on, but we will come up with something fun. So those are the things that I have. Mayor, if you have anything else that you want to add.
So just a couple things real quick. We have, while you're actually in Las Vegas, away, not to say where you were, but we did have a meeting with local businesses. We invited all the hotels in Auburn, along with all the other eating establishments in the direct vicinity of New Year's are going to be directly or indirectly affected, hopefully in a very positive way. The hotels are rolling out special weekend packages and overnight packages. So that's all happening. So if anybody at home wants to spend the night, I know of 6 couples already who have booked at a local hotel. They're calling them back and asking for the special New Year's Eve package. So I'd highly recommend you all, if you've done that at home listening, to do so, or call the hotel directly if they haven't posted them yet. The amount of feedback we've gotten from the Main Street businesses is phenomenal. So Gritty's, to put it into context, will have an outdoor bar, in addition to everything open indoors, with 8 taps. Baxter Brewing will be there at the VIP tent and outside. Side by Each, our brand new brew pub that's still under construction, is going to be working nights and extra to turn out some at least small batch beer, especially for Auburn. House of Bacon is going to be doing a champagne bar. Again, so you all know, it's beer and wine. That's it, no hard alcohol outdoors, and we want to make that clear after consultation with APD that was the smartest, avenue to go in. To sum it up, you did a great job explaining it. There's a lot that's going on. The committee and Sabrina, you and staff have done a phenomenal job. My anxiety level was pretty maxed until about 2-3 weeks ago. And now I'm feeling like I just can't wait for the event to happen because I'm excited for it. And that's in no small part to what everybody, all the volunteers, and what staff has done to make it happen. It is no exaggeration to say this will probably be the largest event in Auburn's recent history. 2,000-3,000. We just shot the first part of our first TV commercials last week. They'll go on air. I honestly think that we will have 3,000 to 5,000 people. That's why the ticketing system is essential, because we might have to cap it. This is the only game in town for Southern Maine. Nobody else is doing anything except for Freeport, and theirs ends at like 7 p.m. So this is really going to put, I don't want to say put us on the map, but really kind of highlight what Auburn has to offer. And as the developers I've brought up here over the last few months have said, we probably have the prettiest Main Street in Central and Southern Maine. So we need to highlight that. And it's true, if you ever look around at other main streets in Maine, look around, nothing really holds a candle to Main Street in Auburn. So we need to make sure that we're highlighting that asset. Sabrina did mention we will have a mass gathering permit application that's going to come in front of the council for the November 5th meeting. This is critical that the council look at it, obviously in above hand, and hence why we're having this briefing right now during workshop, so we know what's coming, so we can approve it, so we can get everybody on board, Public Works, all the area businesses that will be involved. So very big economic generation, great esprit de corps, and great for the city. That's all I got to add. This is awesome. So I'm looking forward to seeing you all there.
Mr. Mayor?
I'm coming.
Yes.
Quick question. Ms. Best, this is a great job and it sounds really exciting. I wonder if earlier in the evening there could be a kids thing, like skating at the Norway Arena or something like that, only because then they can get excited and sort of get into the whole thing, and then their parents take them home at 6 and with a babysitter, and then they come to join this.
We have a committee meeting tomorrow, so I'll bring this up.
Anything else from the council?
No, just if there's a contact number or person, are there chairs of the committee? Are you the chair of the committee?
I would be the best person.
So you would be the person. So, so if anybody wants to know or ask or contribute something or whatever, so they could have a contact person.
Auburn150.com has been updated today with a lot of the key information that you have on your sheet. So you can see everything about the sesquicentennial, but a lot of messaging and that ability, that contact is all right there on auburn150.com for you and for anybody else. Okay. Ms. Best, thank you.
Thank you.
There we go. Next, we're going to have an executive session to discuss an economic development matter pursuant to 1 MRSA, Section 405, 6C. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
I've got a motion from Councilor Rosano, a second from Councilor Hayes. All those in favor? Vote is 7-0. We're in executive session. And I declare us out of executive session. We have one more executive session. Hold on one second while I pull it up. Okay, we have executive session. Can I have a motion to enter into executive session to discuss a personal matter pursuant to 1 MRSA, Section 405, 6A?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Approved. We're now in executive session. Now I declare the council out of executive session. Next on the agenda is an open discussion with the council. We're trying to have more of these as the year progresses per your request. And it's just that, open discussion. We'll try to run this until about 6:45. We'll take a small break before our regularly scheduled council meeting. Anybody have anything they want to discuss?
Mr. Mayor, I happened to meet with Yvette Boutneau, and we talked about kind of the changeover with the Community Advisory Committee and the CDBG work, and we had a good conversation about aligning some of these planning that's being done. The comp plan, the steering committee work that's being done, what CDBG has to do. So I hope that we're going to move that forward and just make sure that we're keeping track and aligning all of this planning that's going on, and perhaps being able to have one group inform what another group is doing. I know in the past, the city spent about $40,000 on somebody to come in and help set up that plan and do evaluation, and I think we can do better than that.
Okay, very good, thank you. Anybody? Yeah, literally, open discussion. Go.
I guess just a question. We had a good discussion with respect to the Ag Commission. I think we all kind of thought we should move ahead with it, but I guess I'm not sure what are the next steps to move ahead.
Good question.
The next steps to move ahead from my take, and I looked at the issue. I'm going to update everybody a little bit further on the task force that we had last Thursday. It was the first meeting. But I know, obviously, Councilor Fournier's there. Councilor Zania, you were excused. Councilor Gary and Councilor Walker watched as well. It was pretty eye-opening and in interesting ways. First of all, I think it was all the members told me it was a really good meeting. They enjoyed it. They enjoyed the flexibility of the format and just the good conversation that happened. Big takeaway? There is so much disinformation, fear, loathing that is going on in the public and with members of the old committee that I think the previous process and the previous committee was tainted. I think the recommendations were tainted. I think it took 3 hours just to organize people, frankly, and I'd encourage everybody to listen to the audio of this. It was recorded and posted so they can get their own take. That it took 3 hours just to understand that we are just talking about, let's say, 10 acres and the 50% income rule. That doesn't mean 5,000 new homes in Auburn gobbling up all farmland. It was interesting to put it down in perspective and really look at what these two regulations mean, the impact, which is compared to what people are thinking, small. But with that said, I am very, very concerned that the previous committee was operating under misguided information and false innuendo, and their recommendation to form a permanent ag committee was guided upon some misinformation. I'm not to say it's a wrong idea at all, but looking at that gives me pause to think on how the next steps could be. And frankly, I think we need to turn it over to the council and councilors to take lead on this and come up with a process. And before that process, of course, or what part of that process needs to be a resolution from the council and voted on by the council, allowing staff to do work on that formation of that committee. So I think it's, and frankly, I think I could, but I can't. I'm not the council secretary. Do it. So I think the council needs to take the lead on that because it is a very, very convoluted issue. And my recommendation, honestly, though, Councilor Hayes, you might find this self-serving, or Councilor Gary, you opposed it initially, is to let this settle for about a month before next steps, and let us get out in the air what the misinformation was, and at least we're going at it from a clean slate. Because I got to tell you, I was concerned during that meeting on what I was hearing from people that I respected, and then we had to quickly tell them that no, it's not like that. So that's just my take on it, but.
The other thing that made sense was to listen to the gentlemen around the table who have historical knowledge on why we are where we are today.
Mr. Keene. Mr. Keene actually helped write the initial ag rules and ordinances in 1964.
Unbelievable information that tells the story of the beginning and where we are now. And I think it's important for us to flesh more of that out so we know that history and then we move forward and we know why things were done the way they were. Because that's got to be aired out so that people understand this is why we're here. But it was, I think that you have people around the table who have, you know, great knowledge of agriculture, farming. I think we've got some good people around the table, and I can't wait to work with them. I think they will offer a lot and guide us in the right direction.
And just to give you a little update, there, our next meeting is in a week from Thursday, but there's a subcommittee within the committee that's going to be crafting a survey to go out to every landowner in the ag zone currently. We have a list of those people already. That's something that the last committee wanted to do but never did. The consultant had some conversations with people, but there was no comprehensive survey. So they're crafting the questions. And the group of three, I think, is a very good group. I know Peter Moore is on it, and so is Kathy Shaw and Chris Carson, too. So you've got some nice different experience levels to help craft that survey.
Yeah, I'm on that one.
Oh, you're on that one, too? Good, good.
And Mr. Mayor, can you mention, so they'll be meeting what the basic meeting schedule is so that people are aware of that?
Yes. So we're giving ourselves a one Thursday off, so to speak, so that Mr. Chamings and his staff can go through and grab some data recommendations or some requests that we had, i.e. who lives where, average lot size, valuation. There's about 6 or 8 different data points they wanted. So we're going to hopefully have that by email to the committee's hands by this Thursday. Then we'll meet the next Thursday. That date eludes me. I'm not sure what the next Thursday is. I have it written down. And then every Thursday thereafter, so weekly, in order to get it done.
And what time and where?
5:30, City Council Chambers.
25th,
Thank you.
5:30.
25th.
Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I don't know if I totally agree with you that the information from our last study group was totally tainted. I think a lot of it was due to the fact that they had asked for certain information and key stuff, and either they weren't get it or it was incomplete. Granted, different people on the previous study came in from different directions, and then they weren't all nailed down to work more cohesive. It was more, I mean, yes, it was a good meeting, but they didn't work as cohesive as your group is, and they didn't ask for all the same type of information that you did. And so I don't know if it was totally convoluted, and I still don't think it's wrong to set up an ag commission, but I agree. We don't need to jump overnight to set it up. Your committee looks like it's going to be it's starting to be shaping up, and it looks like it's fairly decent. And by the time that gets all done, you might have fleshed out more things of the direction for this ag commission.
Maybe just maybe a report out. Last week was a first, or kind of a review of the strategic plan with the invite out to, I think, primarily the committee participants. Could we have some sort of a readout on that and where we are with respect to the application procedure and so forth?
Sure. So we have pushed out the information through social media, the city's media outlets to encourage citizens to apply. We also had, since our last meeting, we had a meeting with all the chairs of the existing boards and committees. We had about just over 50% come out to that. A few councilors also were present. Very good response from the existing boards and chairs. Looking forward to being part of that process. Currently, we have, I don't know the exact number, but we've received numerous requests from citizens to be part of the process. And then we also, like we had talked about, there was a preliminary review of what sectors do we want to make sure or have a voice in this process. And those invites went out to say, here's the link, please apply, go through the process, and we encourage you to do that so that you have a voice at the table. So that's moving along very well.
Number of applications to date in, or?
I want to say probably between 10 and 15. That's a guess, but we've received quite a few.
Okay, and that's from the real public side as opposed to committee. Good.
And I have to say that organizationally, you've done a great job of setting up a system, even with the aggressive time frame and having to move this back a little bit in terms of how each of the different committees, the subcommittees, will feed into the Invest Committee in the end. And I think that's a really smart way to go about doing it. So the Invest Committee will have the information they need from those two subcommittees to then be able to make some decisions.
Anything else anybody wants to bring up? Open discussion. I've got just one item that I'll let a bit go for, Ms. Councilor Walker.
I got a couple items, I believe, that are pretty serious in the city. We have a public service department, and we also hire private contractors that come in and rip up part of the roads in our city. We have one that's right over here that been brought to my attention quite a few times, that comes off from the end of Troy Street onto Turner Street. The bus has had problems with that ever since it's been ripped up. It's been brought up to other people before that this is a problem, and it seems like once we rip up a street and we grade off the dirt or whatever, it takes us 3, 4, 5 months to get an asphalt back on top of it. And that seems to be a little bit ridiculous in time. If there's work that needs to be done underneath that asphalt and gravel, that all should be planned at the time that they strip up the road. Not, get someone to come in and give you a bid 3 weeks after you've ripped it up, and then it takes 3 weeks for them to set up their stage to get the work done. We need to have a better plan and not leave these roads at dirt roads when you're playing around in the city itself here that have always been asphalt. The bus has a very serious problem making that turn, going up that hill. It has been nothing but a deep hole almost from the time they've made that street a dirt road. And the only answer I've seemed to get from anybody is they're working on it and they'll get it done soon. But soon has been all summer pretty much over there. That's how fast soon is. Then we've had other locations, they have done the same thing, and it just stays dirt way too long, and they need a better schedule. And I think we should get reports from department heads or people that are involved in this to report back to the manager. He can report back to why Troy Street is still the way I think that's what it's called at the end, I'm not sure, but why it's taken 3 months of, complaining about this road and still nothing has been done. I would rather that we spend a couple bucks and at least make the apron so it's passable for buses and the drivers and the people that are riding on these buses, instead of breaking their necks inside, bouncing around like a wild man there. So we need to do a better job. Public service, if it's their fault, then we need to know why that is happening. If it's a contractor, then maybe we need a different contractor to take care of it. But it should be maintained, if nothing else, so that it's passable. Right now, if I'm correct, I was there last week after it rained there, that rainstorm we had, and you had at least 8-inch washouts at the end of the road. I mean, that's just unbelievable traveling through that.
We can give you a response on that, Counselor, this evening. I know Phil has been in conversation with Dan at Public Works. Phil?
Sure. So Councilor Walker had mentioned this a few weeks ago as well. Spoke with Dan Goyette, Public Works Director. Where we're second is our vendor. And it doesn't matter which vendor you have. It's just their availability. We have several small projects right now that they're trying to have them come in and hit all those small projects. And what's happening is the weather got warmer there last week, and so that means they were working on their larger projects and pushing off ours. And so it really has to do with trying to make the timing with the vendor. I think that Councilor Walker's right. We probably need to explore that a little bit more, take a look at how we are contracting with vendors. Is there a way, because a lot of times we are at their mercy with these small projects, but is there a way for us to lock in some time frames And I believe they, you know, we have other parties sometimes that get into the road, and so when that gets opened up, that's when we're doing other things. But if water and sewer is also getting in there, trying to get that timeline, and that's how it was communicated with me. And I think we will look at exploring that, because I know Dan was frustrated with the project as well, and wanting to make sure that if there's a way that we can leverage that, then we should.
I oversaw the construction of Davis Avenue. It hadn't been done for eons, and they had to go way down beneath and do the foundation underneath before they did everything. But the same thing happened there, and I've seen a couple of other projects that way. The vendor will go to the big project. They will not go after the small project. So if we've started a lot of small projects throughout the city, and it gets washed out again and again and again, that's costing taxpayers money, because it's taking longer, it's taking a redo of many of those smaller areas. Whether they're small or large, it's still costing a lot of extra money than was originally planned. So that I see as a downfall of that method. So I'd like to see a tightening up. And the other thing that I've noticed is that the new streets, and they look beautiful, the new streets that have been done, they're not completely done yet, but the tar is there. Sometimes you need to have some tar on the other side of the road too. But I've noticed small roads now that are tarred, and they're in great shape, and I'm seeing big Hart trucks and other trucks coming on those roads, which they shouldn't be. They're using that as shortcuts, and they're already going to beat down those roads. And I would like to see if there's anything we can do to put up signs or let these trucking companies know that these are not streets, certain streets that they can go on, because it's going to, within a year's time, and I think Councilor Walker talked about that last meeting, it's not going to take long, a year or so, the roads will be right back to where they were. And these trucking companies don't pay for our streets. You know, we pay for that. So I think that's becoming a bigger and bigger problem.
One more question, if I could, just a quick one. Coming in Washington Street, junkyard, just over the Little-Scoggin River, I think we approved annual licensing for several, but did not, I believe, for the facility on Washington Street. Where are we with respect to that facility?
I've reached out to the license specialist, and to be honest, I don't know what the status is at this point. But he has not, he's not in compliance. We haven't issued the license. And it expired October 1st.
Okay, so it's been just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, and I'll follow up tomorrow, and I'll report back to the city manager, and we'll let you know the status.
I got one last thing, I think, unless anybody else has something they want to bring up. Okay. I hate to say it, it kind of hurts when I say this, but I think after some thoughtful deliberation on my end, we have to start thinking about tax season. And we need to start thinking about how we as a council, don't jump out of your seat yet, I know, you just got back from vacation. I hate to see this on your first day. But we need to start thinking about taxes. And looking back at last year, kind of an after-action review, I think we've done that pretty much ad nauseum. Looking forward, when I ran for mayor, I don't make promises lightly. I did promise that we would work at stabilizing taxes and then lowering taxes. And I did also state that we could do this more effectively than just cutting by increasing our valuation of our city, which is really the downfall of how we are, i.e. we have a lot of services for a city that's much bigger than ours. So we have to increase valuation in order to pay for the services that we know and love and why people live in a city. But we can't tax people out of the very city that they want to be in. So with that said, over the next 30 days, I'd like to have a series of conversations with the council to talk about an early resolution to the city manager, school department, outlining what our expectations are, not with budget or a cap on a dollar, but versus how this affects the ordinary, regular taxpayer with regards to their mill rate. My hope is, with an increase in valuation, that the trend that we've seen, and how we keep going up and making big strides to be more business friendly, that we will have a 0% or 0 penny increase on the mill rate for Auburn taxpayers. And I think that ultimate goal will force multiple city departments to work together, the school and the municipality to work together, in order to accomplish a more common goal. So that's my thought process. A little bit different than a dollar statement, i.e. we cap, the school budget at 45 million or what have us. But more of what we want to care about, what we're looking at is the average taxpayer in the city and how it affects their wallet directly. And I think that's a number that everybody can understand and live with. If we did that, it would effectively, when you factor in inflation, would actually be a tax decrease, if you would, by coming in at a $0 increase to the mill rate. So it's a concept. It's going to be a challenge, I think, on our end to craft this. And obviously we have to work with our city department, not against them, our city or municipal staff and school. But that's a challenge I think we should start looking at and discussing sooner versus later, because it's not going to be fair to anyone to come up in April and May and say, hey, by the way, we don't want to see taxes go up. Okay, that's not fair to anyone. And if that's not a realistic proclamation on my end right now, well, let's know really quick, okay? So we can make sure and prep people for realism. If I, look back at one of our goals as a council, as a deliberative body, was to have financial security. This is helping people provide long-term strategic look at financial security. So just my concept on that. Welcome any dialogue on that.
Mayor.
Yeah, go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I want to let you know that I completely and 100% of support of your idea. One of the things we do have to consider, however, and that's why we should talk about it, is you have to remember the mill rate is the last thing that we determine based on spending and then what the actual evaluation comes in. It's one of the last things that's done. Budget's pretty much all been gone over, and we know how much money we need to spend. Now we've got to find out how we're going to get it, and it all depends on that final valuation, which then becomes the mill rate. So we've got to really think about how we can coordinate this, because obviously if we want a 0% increase in the mill rate, that's hard to say if we've already decided what we're going to spend and we don't know what the evaluation is going to be. So maybe we need some more research and some more time and more workshops on how we arrive at that number so we know and can get prepared, because I'd love to see a 0% increase in spending, obviously, but that may not be realistic. But I'm saying a 0% increase in the mill rate may not mean, that may mean a 5% increase in spending because our evaluation went up. Or went down, or something of that, so that's all key. It all ties together, but the first thing we have to do is decide spending, and then we decide how we're going to collect that money, which is where the mill rate comes in.
A lot of people in the business world or non-municipal world, I'll just use myself as an example. The first thing I did when I did budgets was look at my forecasted revenue, and then I budgeted backwards from that.
Right.
And
we
that's
do that.
what drove
Maybe we can do
my
that.
budgets.
I mean, that would be a wonderful way to be able to do it if we could forecast what we expect.
I think that begs the question. Last year we said, this year we're hoping for increased valuation. How are we doing with that increased valuation? What does this pass? We're still in the construction season.
Good point.
But what do you see? You kind of put out that we didn't have a target, but it was optimistic that we're going to see some increased valuation.
We might not
Are we
wanna-
still optimistic?
Well, we don't want to put you in a corner or anyone in a corner too and say, hey, boo, workshop, give us data. So, we don't want to do that. But
Well, no,
it's a valid question, though. I mean, maybe if
I'm
you
just
can't
throwing
answer
it out
now.
because it was
Yeah.
kind of vaguely put out during our budget last year, so I guess we could kind of get a feel, just, doesn't have to be numbers, but just a feeling, are we where you thought we might be at this point?
We're optimistic that our numbers are going up because our building permits are up, and we have a lot of multi-million-dollar buildings coming in right now. While on the other end of it, you don't do your assessment till almost after your budget's done, so you don't know what the value is from the assessing office. And we have a big problem with depreciation in personal property. That adds into that also. So it's pretty hard to project out the revenues when you don't have a good sense of where the assessment's going to be because of depreciation and other things. The number-wise, I mean, if you look at our permitting numbers, both value and the amounts going out, they're looking very good. And we have some TIFs that are maturing, and as a TIF matures, tax sheltered, you have a 2 to 3 year period before the state catches up with that, so you actually get a little break on your taxes until the state catches up, and when they do, then again, you're losing those monies from a different source of revenue, being revenue sharing 1 and 2 in your education. So there's quite a few variables to that.
But you're optimistic.
I am, yes.
I can see you smiling. Look at that. No, I can't see you smiling. Mr. Chamix never smiles. Well, thank you. So I think that brings us to the conclusion of the open dialogue or discussion.
Well, one thing I bring up, Mr. Mayor, and that would be, would we be able to eventually get to some sort of resolve by the council to ask staff to, before budget season starts, to be looking at what our preferences are when it comes to budgets?
I think that's the idea, is to kind of look at this and see if it's feasible with all the data that we have and good conjecture. You know, there's always rubbing of a crystal ball, so to speak, when you're forecasting. But usually forecasts can be plus or minus a point or two if they're done correctly. And I know city staff in Auburn has years and years of experience, and I think they feel pretty confident with their numbers. I just put them on the spot. But let's get to that point in the next 30 to 45 days or so. And we might not get there, but at least we're making a concerted effort to do this and think of it differently, because at the end of the day, we have to protect the taxpayers and provide good service.
And maybe we could get started on a budget committee. Throw that out there just one more time.
Okay, let's throw this in the conversation. We're going to have more of these open dialogues, so we can keep discussing this as we go on, okay? Thank you. I now declare us out of workshop, and we'll reconvene in approximately 11 minutes for our regular council meeting. I'll now call to order this meeting of October 15th, 2018. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. If you could all please keep standing. I'd like to take a moment right now and just have a moment of silence for Miss Crystal Harden. For those of you who don't know, she tragically passed away over the weekend. Miss Harden was a recipient of the Spirit of America Award. She was a tireless volunteer in the Auburn Police Department for, I think she's done well over 1,000, if not close to 2,000 hours over the years she's been with them. She is definitely going to be missed, and at this point, if we could just give her a moment, please. Thank you. There are no consent items on the agenda tonight, so we're going to move on to the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes for the October 1st, 2018 meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilor Fournier and a second from Councilor Walker. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstain? Minutes are accepted, 7-0. We're going to move on to communications, presentations, and recognition. First, we have a presentation on the agenda from Maple Way Dental Care. I believe I have representatives from Maple Way Dental Care here. Oh, I know they're here. Let the record state, this may be the first time ever we've had balloons in council chambers. Dr. Rose, doctors, thank you.
Oh, that's nice, 150.
It's 150. Thank you very much. And
Very much.
I'll turn the floor over to you, Dr. Rose. And
That's very nice.
yeah, you can use the microphone. It's on, please. Thank you.
Yes. Well, good evening, Mr. Mayor and councilors. Myself, along with my colleagues, Dr. Kenley and Dr. Reyes, are happy to join you tonight to announce our sponsorship of Auburn's 60th celebration this year. I am proud to say that Maple Way Dental Care, formerly Center Street Dental, established its roots and enjoyed over 30 years of operation in Auburn. While we were here, honored to serve the residents of both cities and will continue to do so now that we're just across the river, we're still happy that we're part of the Auburn community. This occasion marks a special milestone in Auburn history, and we are thrilled to show our support. So happy 150th Auburn. And we brought also some toothbrushes, and of course the balloons. So, thank you.
Thank you. And I'd love to get some pictures if I could, doctors.
That would be
Come right up here. I'll get right in front of the dais. And counselors, if we can get up front too. And welcome. I got to tell you that Maple Way Dental, phenomenal sponsor for the sesquicentennial. They're a foundation level sponsor, which is a substantial gift. And I am very, very happy to have them here. And we're looking, yeah, make sure you get, wow, that could be difficult. Got 5 always stays in the middle. So we'll get some pictures too. And again, thank you very much, Maple Way Dental Care.
Higher, so we can see your faces. Okay, there we go. No, we're good. We're good. 2, 3. Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Give me 1 second.
Well, look at that. They put them right up there. I know.
Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Brian's all over it.
Huh? I know.
Yeah, have fun sometime. Doing this by your practice. I know.
How about this? Where do you? Oh, yes.
No, the mayor's office.
Put them in the mayor's office.
Yeah,
I'll put them in the counselor's office. We'll go back and forth.
thank you very much. That's great. That was very nice of you.
Oh, yeah.
I gotta get the right color.
It looks good.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's Maple Way Dental. I got to tell you,
That's right. I
Oh.
think so.
that's good. Nice.
Thank you very much.
150.
Yeah, that's
awesome.
very festive.
How did you guys get that up there so quick? Okay.
The archives.
So, yeah, Maple Way Dental's been a great sponsor, and we have some other foundation sponsors that'll be coming in over the course of the next month or so. So, very exciting. Next on the list, proclamation. Extra Mile Day in Auburn. Well, let me read that. Hold on 1 second. So, whereas Auburn, Maine is a community which acknowledges that a special vibrancy exists within the entire community when its individual citizens collectively go the extra mile in personal effort, volunteerism, and service. And whereas Auburn, Maine is a community which encourages its citizens to maximize their personal contribution to the community by giving of themselves wholeheartedly and with total effort, commitment, and conviction to their individual ambitions, family, friends, and community. And whereas Auburn, Maine is a community which chooses to shine a light on and celebrate individuals, organizations within its community to go that extra mile in order to make a difference and lift up fellow members of their community. And whereas Auburn, Maine acknowledges the mission of Extra Mile America is to create 575 extra mile cities in America and is proud to support Extra Mile Day on November 1, 2018. Now therefore, I, Mayor of Auburn, Maine, do hereby proclaim November 1, 2018 to be Extra Mile Day. I urge each individual in the community to take time on this day to not only go the extra mile in his or her own life, but to also acknowledge all those who are inspirational in their efforts and commitment to make their organizations, families, and community, their country, or world a better place. So that is Extra Mile Day, November 1. Now, it just doesn't have to be on November 1. I might take this time to recognize Stephen Martelli, who just happens to be in the audience tonight. He was profiled in the Lewiston Sun-Journal. He has gone literally the extra mile, that mile right behind Parker Mill Dam, where he keeps clearing it up, and I took a tour of it a couple of weeks ago. It's probably about 1.5 miles, but it's great. A lot of clearing, so thank you. So let's keep recognizing these people in Auburn who do some great stuff for the community. Next, communication, Zoning Board of Appeals update. I got Courtney McDonough. I'm sorry. She's a chair, and please, love to have your update. Thank you very much for joining us today.
Yes, you're welcome. All right. Good evening, City Council members and Mayor Levesque. So I'm the chair of the Board of Zoning Appeals. About over the last year, we've had 3 appeal hearings. We had one April 16th, one June 12th, and one August 9th, in which we granted all 3 variances within the city of Auburn. We currently have 1 appeal in the process of being scheduled. Sometimes it's hard to try to get all of us on the same page and make a night that works, but we try to get it as quickly as we can when the appeal happens. So for us, the process of the board is to listen to the community members' reasoning and their evidence on why we should grant them the variance when they come in front of us. We also listen to the city side and take both sides into account in a fair and impartial manner. We use the evidence presented to us to make our decision. We also ask questions of both sides at our board meetings, which sometimes it really helps clarify what it is that the issue is, and for us to really make an informed decision on the variance and whether or not we should grant it. So, I mean, you know, we go into our meetings and we go in impartial to either side and just listen to the evidence that's presented to us and really decide whether or not we should issue the variance to the community member or deny the variance.
Do Do you have any idea on like a common theme? Is there a commonality amongst the cases that you hear?
So I've been on the board since 2014. I would say that the most common issues would be issues regarding Taylor Pond, and issuing variances around Taylor Pond, just giving the zoning out in that area.
You're talking about like addition on to existing camps and remodels and so forth?
Yeah, and the 50% remodeling ordinance. Yep.
Great, thank you. Is there any questions from the council? No? Thank you very much for taking the time, to volunteer on this committee, first and foremost. It's very important. And thank you for taking your time to update us today. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions of us?
No, I don't have any questions.
You sure? Any
Eric's
requests?
great. No, Eric's good. Eric answers any questions I have, so.
Perfect. Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
How many people on your board right now?
So I think we have 3 that could be appointed tonight, which would give us, I'm pretty positive, a full board.
Thank you.
But we were at 6 up until tonight.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next, we have Office of the City Clerk, Sue Clements Delaire, with an update.
Thank you, Mayor Levesque and city councilors. I'm not sure how much detail you want me to go into, but just to talk to you a little bit about the Office of the City Clerk and what we do, what we're up to. We have 3 full-time staff members, including myself. Kelsey Earle is our licensing specialist. She's also the deputy city clerk, so she would be the second in command if I'm out of the office. And then there is Tammy Thatcher, who is an administrative assistant and assistant city clerk. We provide a wide variety of services. We're responsible for manning the switchboard and the information desk and directing callers and visitors of the city to where they need to go, what department they need. We take care of the incoming and outgoing mail. We administer the business licensing program in Auburn. We accept the applications, collect the fees. We notify the fire department, code office, police department, and finance department. Some of the departments will conduct inspections if necessary. We also want to make sure that anybody applying for a business license doesn't owe any outstanding balances, real estate or personal property tax, or any other balances. We send out renewal notices. We don't license all businesses within the city. We do license approximately 270 businesses within the city, and some of those actually hold multiple licenses. Some of the businesses we license are food service establishments, secondhand dealers, massage establishments, tattoo artists, taxi cabs, and taxi cab drivers. We issue garage sale permits. We're also responsible for maintaining vital statistic records of the city, birth, death, and marriage records. We have paper copies of these records that date back to the 17 and 1800s. Now the newer birth, marriage, and death records are actually electronic, so they're issued through a statewide database. Because we're a hospice town, we have several nursing homes and here in Auburn, so we issue a fairly high number of death certificates, marriage certificates, marriage licenses. We usually get busy, very busy in the summertime issuing marriage licenses. And now that we have this electronic process, it's pretty time consuming. If somebody comes in for a marriage license, it takes approximately a half an hour from the time they fill out the application and we transfer the information into the database. It's kind of a lengthy process. We also maintain records of the city council meetings. We prepare the agendas. We're responsible for maintaining the code of ordinances for the city. We update that quarterly. you know, we're doing pretty good at making sure that the ordinances that are online are up to date. There was a period of time where we kind of fell behind, and we were behind on that, but we're doing well keeping those up to date. We provide notary, public, and dedimus justice services. We maintain information, term expirations, and recruit for volunteers to serve on our various boards and committees. We also administer elections for the city. The next election is going to be held on Tuesday, November 6th. All polling places will be open from 7 a.m. until 8 o'clock p.m. We have 5 polling places, and we also have central processing, which is essentially, it's like a 6th polling place. It's where we process absentee ballots. Election preparation begins months before an election. We have a lot of paperwork that we have to prepare, notices we have to prepare, training material, election supplies for the polls, and staffing the polling places and early processing. It's usually, that can be quite challenging, finding, you know, enough people to staff at the polling locations. Before every election, we offer training sessions for election clerks, wardens and ward clerks, and deputy registrars. For this particular election, we're going to hold a training on October 25th here at Auburn Hall at 5:30. That's going to be for the election clerks. On Saturday, October 27th at 9 o'clock, we're going to hold another training session for wardens and ward clerks. Thursday, November 1st, at 4 o'clock, we're going to hold a training session for deputy registrars. We also have to test all of the tabulating machines and the accessible voting machines before every election. The accessible voting machines, it's a ballot marking device for folks that have disabilities. We have 5 of those, and then we have 12 of the tabulating machines. So we have to run a series of ballots through every machine just to make sure that they're reading them accurately. You have to test every ballot style. For this upcoming election, we have, I want to say 6 or 7 ballot styles. Absentee voting is underway. We've already issued approximately 1,100 absentee ballots. We have 7 licensed nursing homes and residential care facilities that we go out to visit to conduct absentee voting. So we've already visited one. We have another one scheduled for tomorrow, and then I think the others are next week. The statewide deadline to request an absentee ballot is Thursday, November 1st. We're going to be offering extended hours on that day. We'll be open until 7 o'clock p.m. to allow time for residents to come in, register to vote, vote absentee in person, or they can take a ballot with them. State law allows us to process absentee ballots the Saturday and the Monday before the election. So we will be here on Saturday, November 3rd, processing absentee ballots. We'll be running them through the tabulating machines. We'll continue again on Monday, and then on election night. When we do early processing, you're running the ballots through the tabulating machines, but you're not running the tallies until election night once all of the ballots have gone through. We can't run the tally tapes. Beginning Wednesday, the 17th, we're in what the state refers to as the closed period, so anybody registering to vote has to do so in person. Any voter registration cards that come in through the mail or through a third party will have to be set aside until after the election. Folks can register to vote at their polling place on election day. ID and proof of residency is required. I know Councilor Hayes, Councilor Gary have both worked an election before. There's an awful lot that goes into an election, and you know, I don't think it's obvious to the public, you know, what goes into it. And Councilor Lasagna, you were involved in a recount. And I know that you made a comment as well. So there are many, many checks and balances, but we're definitely busy.
Thank you. Is there any questions?
Yes, I have one question. Are you going to have any Saturday hours?
We're not going to have Saturday hours. We have done that in the past, and there was very little turnout, but also with the processing absentee ballots, we don't have the staffing to be able to open the office and process absentee ballots. So we are having
November 1st is the last day that you can vote, request an absentee ballot.
Right, unless you have extenuating circumstances, and there are, I believe, 3 situations that the state considers extenuating circumstances.
So people should plan ahead.
People should plan ahead.
Any other questions?
I would just like to mention that I was part of a recount, and I was so incredibly impressed by the thoughtfulness and the care that your office took in that. I'll also say that you all are so much the face of this city to a lot of people who won't interact probably formally in any other way. And I hear such wonderful things about you and your staff. And I have to say, my husband actually splits up the jobs he has to do here because he loves to come see you all. Having grown up in Baltimore and Providence, where it was a nightmare.
Oh, wow.
So you all do a really wonderful job and show a wonderful face of Auburn to the public. Thank you.
Great questions, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. A couple of questions. One of them, this year we have a new twist in the election scene, which is ranked choice voting. Just on the national scene, though, as I understand it, right? The state and local elections will not be ranked choice voting.
Right. It's only the federal offices, which is representative to Congress and the U.S. Senate. And then the rest are going to be the regular plurality voting because our Constitution, the Maine Constitution, doesn't allow for ranked choice voting at this time.
So I think there's going to be some stuff in the paper, I would assume, or some public announcement of what the ballot's going to look like and give people time to prepare, because that is going to be a little bit different where you're going to be ranking the choices as opposed to making one selection.
Sample ballots are posted on our website, and I also have some links to the state website which provide really helpful information regarding ranked choice voting. They've done a really good job at, posting information. They've got little animated videos and like a PowerPoint presentation and a lot of information.
I just think it's important that everybody know, because when you go to the ballot box and something new you see in front of you, it's not going to be as effective as if people are prepared. So I appreciate that.
Yeah.
The other question I had was, do you have any idea what we gain in revenue every year on garage sale permits? Any rough estimate?
Oh, gosh. I want to say 4,000, what? Yeah, I was going to say around 4,000.
Well, I was going to say, right, maybe in part of our 150th, we ought to have a free garage sale weekend as part of our 150th.
First place.
And we could bring in some people from all over.
Maine's largest garage sale.
Absolutely.
I love it, Councilor Titus. I think it's brilliant.
And so,
Yeah,
just a
that's not
thought.
policy directive, but I think we can bring this up. I think my mother would be very happy.
Well, I think it would, other communities have done it, and I've been to those communities before, and it really does create a lot of activity for very little money, which would be primarily maybe some traffic control, but mostly, the loss of garage sale permits for that weekend. So, just a thought.
Probably your best one this year. Thank you, Councilor Titus. Sue, thank you. Next, open session. Members of the public are invited to speak about any issue directly related to city business which is not on this agenda tonight. Is there any member of the public that would like to speak? None seen. I will now close the open session. We're going to move on to unfinished business. We've got a order, actually, 77-09, 172018, to amend order 122-121-82017, previously adopted by the City Council on December 18th, 2017, regarding the discontinuance of Troy Street. This is a public hearing and the second reading. I'll entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
I've got a motion from Councilor Forney and a second from Councillor Walker. I'll now open it up to the public. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak on this issue? None being? Bring it back to the council. Is there any conversation or debate amongst the council on this topic? It is a second reading. Councillor Fournier.
I think, just want to remind people that as of the last time we had this presentation, it became known to us that it actually did increase the land to the abutting apartment building, that he did make out a little better than he expected. So that's nice that that happened.
Okay, great, great. Councillor Titus, you had something?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. No, I just wanted to ask a question, I think, but first, a statement. You know, I really haven't been an opponent of this project from the beginning. It's moving forward anyway, but one concern I had was a major concern that came up during this whole thing was the parking for the library. There's been a lot of plans that have come up and gone down in flames, and I've not really heard any update as to what we're going to do to help out the library after we've taken away virtually all their extra parking. So I'd like to see that, so maybe at a future workshop or very soon, because again, we're sacrificing a lot. This project, we've given a lot for this project to happen. The least we can do is have something that was given back in the process, besides just an easement to be able to drive on this piece of
The city
property.
manager might have an update on that too. It'd be a good time if he's willing to share that.
I do have a brief update on that. I have met with the trustees for the library board and talked with them about that issue. Michael Chamings was there as well, the Economic Development Director for the city, and we are looking at different options and continuing to work with the library board on that issue. And I would expect that that will be part of the discussion that takes place during the strategic planning process.
Well, I mean, we've been dealing with this for over a year, and we haven't seen any results. So I'd like to see something, not waiting for the strategic plan to get together, and next year we hear something. I really think that once this construction starts, we're dead in the water, and we really need to have something so that people feel a little bit at ease before then. We've been planning this now since the Troy Street project began.
Well, I guess what I would say is we have looked at different options, and at this point in time, we don't have an option that the people are comfortable with. So we're continuing to explore those options.
Thank you, Mr.
One option that was made, the plans that were drawn up by Doug, didn't really sit well with the Board of Trustees. I'm on the Board of Trustees for the library, and the one thing that we do not want to do is to lose all of that green space, because in order to make, one of the ideas was to take that green space out completely and create another row of parking. But for the amount of parking spaces that gave us, it wasn't worth it, because a lot of stuff happens on that green space. There's science lessons going on, and it's an interactive place. So we would not want to see that taken away. And what it did is it moved the cars almost right up against the building.
Very good. I just need to bring this back to topic on the motion versus library parking back to the subject. That's fine. No, so no other debate within the council. I'd like to take this to a vote by a show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? Abstain? The order carries by a vote of 5-2. New business. We have next is an order to approve a special amusement permit for Craft Brew Underground located at 34 Court Street. I'm going to entertain a motion at this time.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councillor Fournier and a second from Councillor Walker. I'm going to open this up to the public for any debate or comment. Anybody in the public would like to comment on this? None being? I'm going to bring it back to the council. Is there any, we have all the information in our packet. Is there any comment, debate from the council?
Where is it going? I'm trying to imagine
Craft
how
Brew
much.
Underground is right over here on Main Street. Basement, the old cellar door.
It's the old cellar door. Okay, it's the same place. All right, yeah.
So I have a question. In looking at the questionnaire, on page 4 of the questionnaire, they say the entertainment provided, music, acoustic, or possibly small band. They do close at 10. I just want to make sure that music would not be a nuisance in that community.
Oh, it's way down in the cellar.
Yeah, I tell you what, I
You
grew
don't
up
hear
in-
anything outside.
I just remember the first sets, but they were pretty good.
Okay.
You know what I'm talking about. Okay.
Thank you.
Over the years, too, there's been music there for many, many years.
Any other comments from the council? If not, I'm going to bring this back to a vote. Yes, bring this back to a vote. All those in, show of hands. All those in favor?
Point of order.
It'd be a roll
Is this a
call.
roll call? I'm sorry?
It's a roll call.
Oh,
And,
then-
and did you, we have to have a public hearing. Did you open it up to the public?
I did.
You did, okay, I'm sorry. I missed
Brought it back to the council. That's okay. You got me on the point of order, though.
All right.
Okay, so, Ms. Ask the
Councilor
city
Fournier?
clerk to ask for a roll call vote, please.
Yes.
You know what? Never mind. I'm sorry. It's not a roll call vote. I was on the next, the ordinance.
Hold on, was I right? Meeting adjourned, I'm going
Amazing.
home. Okay, I'm not going to gloat too much because I'll screw it up later. Okay, so, go back to a show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? None being. Order passes 7-0. Next. We have a proposed ordinance amendment for the annual adjustment of maximum benefits, appendices A, B, and C. This is a public hearing and the first reading. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilor Fournier, a second from Councilor Walker. I'm going to open up the public for any comments. This is, again, the first reading. Is there any comments from the public? No? I'm going to bring it back to the council. We discussed this last, council, okay, during workshop. Good presentation, pretty straightforward. Is there any other debate, comments? Councilor
Mayor?
Titus?
Well, I think there is, because we had a discussion about this last meeting, talking about, and I'm going to read, the original Section A in the ordinance says that there shall be a planning board member of 7 regular or 2 associate members. Members of the planning board shall be residents of the city and shall not be officers or employees. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought we were talking about the planning board. I'm sorry.
Good?
Yep.
Okay, we'll strike that.
Strike that.
Strike that. Any other council conversations, debates? No? This will be a roll call vote. I'll ask the city clerk to conduct the roll.
Councilor Fournier?
Yes.
Councilor Walker?
Yes.
Councilor Gary?
Yes.
Councilor Young?
Yes.
Councilor Lasagna?
Yes.
Councilor Hayes?
Yes.
Councilor Titus?
Yes.
Motion carries 7-0. Next is a proposed ordinance amending the planning board ordinance under membership. This is a public hearing and first reading. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion from Councilor Fournier and second from Councilor Walker. Public hearing. Any members of the public would like to speak on this issue, please step forward. None being seen. I'll bring it back to the council. Is there any debate? I'll start off with Councilor Titus.
I'm sorry for just getting ahead of myself.
Say it again. That was great.
So anyway, I just wanted to say that the original Section A of the amendment, it said there shall be a planning board member of 7 regular or 2 associate members. Members of the planning board shall be a resident of the city of Auburn and not be officers or employees of the city. Persons appointed by the city council to serve on both boards, agencies, panels, and/or commissions shall not serve concurrently on the planning board. Members shall serve without compensation. Then we added a little bit of thing where we said the residents of the city of Auburn shall not be officers or permanent or part-time employees of the city. And that met with a little bit of resistance. And I think the resistance was that we thought there was a little bit of a problem with the definition of permanent, full, and part-time. And there was some discussion whether we should specify certain positions or maybe stipend employees would be eligible or so on and so forth. And I must say I was a little bit surprised to find out that we struck the whole thing and pretty much allowed anyone, whether they're an employee or not, because we said there shall be a planning board of 7 regular or 2 associate members. Members of the planning board shall be residents of the city, persons appointed to the city by the city council to serve on either the boards, agencies, or panels, or in the commissions shall not serve concurrently on the planning board. And there's a message there where the city council would determine if there was any conflict with the person. And my concern with that was that I don't know that we should have that. We should allow the city council to decide that an employee can I think it should be part of the ordinance if we're going to disallow employees, full-time or part-time, of the city, and not make it a discretion of the city council upon anybody's applying. I'm a little nervous about that.
Yeah, no, understandable. And I think I'd like to turn this over, with your permission, Mr. Manager, to the Assistant City Manager, as he was acting in your capacity while you were gone. I believe you came up with this proposed solution. If you could explain.
Sure. Mayor and Council, as you recall, at the last meeting, I did say that I would look into this, do some research. After looking into it, currently this is the only committee that you have any language that would restrict an employee from serving on the board. We also took a look at the state statute as far as comprising a planning board. After researching the state statute, there's no conflict in a planning board to have an employee that's serving. And then we also looked at surrounding communities to see what their language looks like. All surrounding communities that we pulled, including Lewiston, has no language that would restrict an employee. It's done through the appointment process. And that's you basically have two forms of checks and balances on this. You have your appointment committee that could look at it and say, this position would be in direct conflict with the planning board. We won't move forward or make that recommendation. And then if it did go through that process, you still have the final check and balance, which would be the city council, who could then take a look and say yes or no on whether or not they would want that position. We felt instead of trying to add the language that would be very tedious and what types of positions or how long, part-time, that this would probably be the best language and allow let the check and balance that you have in place serve its purpose.
Thanks for doing that homework.
And will the last sentence, it will be the responsibility of the appointment board to determine if there is an employee with a potential conflict, that will be included in this? Or is that just for our own information?
That wasn't in there. That wasn't in there, it was for your information.
Okay, thank you.
I would like to point out, too, that on all the packets that the entire council and myself receive are the actual applications and resumes of all applicants that are sent forth to the appointment board. So there is even multiple checks and balances on the back end, too. So we have all the information as well as the appointment board to make those decisions later on. And even tonight, we're voting on the acceptance of many new board appointees. So,
Mr. Mayor, if I could add just one point, we did leave language in that the individual needs to be a resident. All the other languages that we looked at, that wasn't included. That wasn't a restriction. However, we felt most of ours has that language, so we kept that so it would be consistent.
very good. Any comment from the council? Comment? If not, I'd like to bring this to the first vote. All those in favor? Oh, excuse me. Roll call vote, please, Ms. Clerk.
Councillor Fournier?
Yes.
Councillor Walker?
Yes.
Councillor Young?
Yes.
Councillor Gary?
No.
Councillor Lasagna?
Yes.
Councillor Hayes?
Yes.
Councillor Titus?
No.
First reading passes by a vote of 5-2. Next is resolved to amend the hangar loan between the city's general fund and the Auburn Lewiston Airport to extend its maturity to FY 2034. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councillor Fournier and a second from Councillor Hayes. I will open it up to the public for comment. Are there any members of the public that would like to speak? None being, I'll bring it back to the council. Council comments. Maybe Councillor Hayes, you'd like to lead off on this one because you're our representative to the airport?
Yes, actually, this comes up because we've had a Lufthansa, of course, at the airport. They were paying a much higher lease than right now the market could bear for another party coming in. So recognizing that, in order to entice another activity into the facility, it was necessary to extend out the lease terms or payments back to the city over a longer period so we could reduce the lease amount that we could offer to get a new activity into the hangar. And it comes now because we do have a party that's very interested, and it's a good party. It'll bring activity, the same type of activity, actually provide an opportunity for some training of our youth into that field. So I think it's in order for us to be able to move ahead and not have a lack of income from that hangar, I certainly encourage unanimous vote on this matter. And Lewiston has already moved ahead and has already approved on the Lewiston side, because of course the facility is shared by both cities.
Well, just for clarification purposes, Councilor Hayes or maybe Ms. Eastman, this will be no decrease in either principal or interest to Auburn, just saying, basically re-amortizing out over a long period of time, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Any other comments from the council or Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, just had one comment, and I think this is a good idea. It looks like it's going to bring us it's a good reason to do it. I would like to ask, though, however, I don't know, have we gotten a lease on the intermodal facility?
I've been away on vacation. Before I left on vacation, I talked to the airport manager about sitting down and having a conversation, which the council is aware that I would be doing. I'll be doing that beginning tomorrow.
Yeah, we've been waiting a couple of years for that, so I hope maybe we can finally, especially where I think this shows that we are cooperating, we'd like to cooperate on both sides. I think this is a good thing for everybody, and I think it's a good thing for everybody to finally get that lease under control for the intermodal facility.
I agree.
Any other comments, discussions? If not, I'm going to bring this to a vote. Show of hands. All those in favor? Okay, it's unanimous, 7-0. So again, first reading, so we'll have this a reading again. Was this first reading? No, final reading.
Doesn't say,
Done.
it's
Sorry.
just,
No,
this is it.
Okay, I'm going to turn this over. Next we have several board and committee appointments that we'd like to make, and I'm going to ask for a motion. Hold, please.
Mr. Mayor? I got it, thank you.
I have a motion.
Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The Auburn City Council's Appointment Committee met the other week and would like to make the following recommendations. On Order 81-10152018, reappointing Judith Weber to the Auburn Housing Authority with a term expiration of 10/1/2023. On Order 8210152018, reappointing Celia McClunskin, sorry for killing the name, to the Community Development Block Grant CDBG Loan Committee with a term expiration of 10/1/2021. On Order 83-10152018, appointing Candace D. Amore to the Board of Assessment Review with a term expiration of 10/1/2022. On Order 84-10152018, reappointing Dana Staples to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with a term expiration of 10/1/2020. On Order 85-10152018, reappointing Misty Edgecombe to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with a term expiration of 10/1/2020. On Order 86-10152018, reappointing Suzanne Roy to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with a term expiration of 10/1/2020. On Order 87-10152018, reappointing Rick Martell to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Board with a term expiration of 10/1/2020. On Order 88-10152018, appointing Michael Corey to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term expiration of 10/1/2021. on order 89-10152018, appointing Kirsten Mazinski to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term expiration of 10/1/2021. On order 90-10152018, appointing Kyle Hall to the Zoning Board of Appeals with a term expiration of 10/1/2021. And I'm done.
Thank you.
Seconded.
Good job.
Counselor Hayes, you have to repeat all that back for a second. I have a motion from Counselor Gary and a second from Counselor Hayes. I will open it up to the public for comment. Or better yet, if you're in the audience right now, please stand. Awesome. Listen, thank you all very much for coming here. Okay, and thank you very much for putting your name in the hat, so to speak, and volunteering your time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
So again, that's to assume that we vote for you, but I wouldn't. You might want to take a breath on that. I'm going to bring it back to the council now. This is where it gets hairy. Any comments, questions, concerns? None being, I'm going to ask for a vote. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Opposed? Abstained? None being. The appointments have passed by a vote of 7-0. Now, congratulations. Thank you very much. Okay, now, thank you. We are on to Mayor's report. Okay, I'm going to try to be fairly quick here, about 7:45. A lot of things have happened in the last 2 weeks. A lot of things will happen. A couple high notes in Auburn. I just have to tell you all, the YMCA, I attended their ribbon cutting on last Friday at the new urban park off Stetson Road. For those of you who might not be aware, it goes 93 acres from Stetson Road all the way down to River Road and then over to Bobbin Brook behind Kmart. It is phenomenal. Archery ranges, ADA handicap trails, soccer fields, basketball courts, ropes courses. It is truly an urban paradise. Okay, so it's open for the public, sunrise to sunset. Please get out there and enjoy it. There's a beautiful pavilion, rain cover, right off Stetson Road. You can't miss it. I encourage everybody to go out there and enjoy the leaves and a nice hike in the fall, winter cross-country skiing, snowshoeing. So they're going to do a lot of activities and a lot of summer camps. So pretty amazing asset we now have. So thank you, the YMCA. TD, tree planting. TD Bank planted over 45 trees just last week. I was there. I met some of the employees, probably about 50 employees that volunteered their day along with Auburn Public Services. Great showing there. All in, I think it was 2nd and Gill, no, 7th and Gill. So along 7th and Gill in New Auburn, great fruit-bearing trees, leaf-bearing trees, wonderful activity. And folks, these employees were from all over southern Maine. So they drove up from Portland, South Portland, of course, Auburn and Lewiston. It was really nice to see them. They were very excited to be giving back. There's only a dozen or so cities in America, North America, that are tree cities as designated by TD Bank. So we're fairly lucky to have that in our city. So when you see those trees and breathe clean air, thank TD Bank. It's pretty much an endorsement, I think, right there. Next, tomorrow was supposed to be Michael Chamings and I giving a presentation at the Auburn Public Library about our past trip to China. We are postponing that to October 23rd. There'll be 2 sessions, noon and 7. Noon and 7. The reason for the postponement is I have to go to the White House tomorrow. So I'll be leaving here at 6 and coming back at 6. So it'll be a day trip there. I just got the itinerary, and I'll be meeting with U.S. Department of Labor Secretary Acosta, Deputy Secretary for Education Mike Zayas, and Jim Carroll, the Acting Director and Deputy Director, Office of National Drug Control Policy, and some other representatives, acting deputies of Veteran Affairs and Intergovernmental Affairs. So it'll be a fairly long day of meetings. Kind of came along last minute, but I think it's really encouraging to represent Auburn in our nation's capital, especially at the White House, and we will see what opportunity arises. Nothing gained, nothing ventured. Moving along. Tomorrow. So here's a favor I need to ask everybody in Auburn, especially the City Council. If you've been following, there is a plan afoot by Central Maine Power, and we know about this because we passed a resolution on this I believe 6-1, about 4 or 5 months ago, supporting the construction of a corridor, a power corridor from Canada to Massachusetts. It will directly affect Lewiston. Here's how so. Over $250 million in new building valuation will happen in Lewiston for an electrical substation plant to support this. This will increase their tax base and provide much needed tax relief for the citizens of Lewiston. Does it directly affect Auburn? Probably not. We'll have residents that work on this project, either initially for construction or ongoing, and that's wonderful and that's great. But what this can do for us is obviously help lower some of our county tax obligation. But more importantly, I believe, like I did when we brought this resolution forward 4 or 5 months ago, that this is what good neighbors do for their friends in need. Lewiston needs our support. I am going to support them every way I possibly can, especially after we have already executed a resolution and voted in favor for it. I will be going to the PUC October 17th at 5 p.m. in Hollowell to testify in support of this project. I would encourage anybody from the community or from the council to join me in Hollowell. We can carpool if you'd like. If not, there is a press release tomorrow at 10:30 at Veterans Park. So 10:30 tomorrow, October 16th. It would be great if we had city representation there to support the city of Lewiston, as they want this, they need this, and by gosh, I think they deserve this. So let's see if we can make some time and get out there. I'd go there, but I can't, obviously. So tomorrow, 10:30 Veterans Park, or 5 o'clock, PUC Hollowell. You can ask me for more details if need be. But again, I would only hope in our time of need, Lewiston would come and help and support us. So I guess this is about paying it forward. Moving along to something different, part of our sesquicentennial is beer. Gritty's is brewing a Auburn Pride beer. We have no idea what that beer will taste like. They have no idea either. On November 1st at 5:30, there will be a community pint night at Gritty's, where all Auburn residents or interested parties can come and help their master brewer and one of their co-owners, Ed, and talk about what kind of beer tastes like Auburn. Smells like Auburn, rich mahogany and fine leather. So light, dark, amber, hoppy, non-hoppy, I'm not an expert, but 5:30, Gritty's, November 1st. I'd love it if as many people as possible came. 50 cents on every beer will go to the Sesquicentennial Fund, but more importantly, we get to craft beer, and that just sounds like fun. First meeting on my Mayor's Agriculture Action Resource Protection Ad hoc committee or task force happened last Thursday. It was about 3.5 hours long. Audio of this is on the website. Encourage all interested parties to listen to it. It was a good meeting. It really was a good, open dialogue, free-flowing, not constrained by limitations or obsessive rules, but really just getting to understand the topics and each other. So I'm looking forward to the next meeting, which will be on October 25th at 5:30 here in council chambers. Anybody from the public is more than welcome and encouraged to come participate. There is public comment portion of the meeting. So if not one, definitely more. So please come ahead and or come along and please join. That's it. Oh, congratulations. I just want to bring this to people's attention. It was in the paper. Planning board tentatively gave permission, I believe, for 48 market rate apartments to be built on Garcelon Road across from St. Mary's Clinic by the Masonic Hall. These are market rate apartments. I do not remember the last time 48 market rate apartments have been proposed and to either this planning board or city council. This is exciting. I think this is something that the council has talked about for some time. I believe this will never have to come in front of us, I hope. So it's just a matter of going and letting the market dictate what is needed and satisfying demand with supply. So I'm glad to see some really good upward momentum in our developing. Great job, economic development, for shepherding this through. Director Chamings, appreciate it. That's it for me. Turn it over to the council for their reports. Councilor Gary.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yesterday I went to Lewiston's Farmers Market. I got some really great farm fresh produce and veggies and fruit. But while I was there, I met this very distinguished young man. He works on a project called Window Dressers, 7 Steps to a Warmer Home. Basically, if you need extra windows, put like a inside storm window, I guess that's what it is. You get measured by their volunteers who will visit your house, assess and measure your windows, and give you a quote. And then you sign up for a shift at a community workshop held from September to January. And then you pay for the insert, but there's a special price, a low-income pricing available upon request, and they're looking for seniors because no senior has signed up, and they want to get as many homes as warm as possible and help especially seniors and people cut their energy costs. So I thought that was a great thing. I got their pamphlet, I've got the contact information, and I want to talk with Holly and General Assistance and maybe Mr. Chemmings in CDBG in order to get, I mean, I know he's in economic development, but he's ahead of it. So get the word out so maybe we can help more Auburn families that are in need. Anything that we can do to help people get
If you
their
could,
homes
Councilor
warm.
Gary, just direct that to the city manager. That way he can delegate out what people to
that's-
work with, okay?
That's fine. And then the other thing is, tomorrow night, we've got an age-friendly meeting at the Auburn Senior Community Center, starting at 5:30. We're going to be taking a first blush look at our needs assessment survey. I need help to pare it down. I got it down from the 16 pages of the prototype from AARP. I've got it down to like 6 pages, but I kind of need some group input to help me pull it down. We are also going to look where we are on the different key steps of what we're trying to do and where we're going to go, and things like transportation, food insecurity, transportation. I mean, there's like 8 different core things that our age-friendly is going to set up itself to try to figure out ways to help Auburn residents with. So I'm looking forward to it. And also, Councilor Walker is going to update us on our membership of our committee, as well as we're going to talk about our next planned event for Veterans Day. But the big thing that I'm excited about is we're going to have a Thanksgiving dinner at our Auburn Community Senior Center on Thanksgiving Day. We're partnering up with the PAL, and we're going to have it open to any senior or anybody that would like to come and have a dinner. We'll be probably serving around noontime. It's free. You just need to contact Councilor Walker or myself or our general assistants, and we will take a list of names and we'll have it. We'll have a traditional Thanksgiving dinner. I also want to thank the kind, anonymous farm person that dropped off a load of squash and pumpkins at my house for the dinner to help go towards some of the vegetables that we may be needing for the dinner. I think I've got like 6 milk crates full of squash and pumpkins. So I'm very appreciative, whoever it was that dropped it off, because I know we could use it. And I'll be quiet.
Thank you. Councilor Lasagna?
Very briefly, tomorrow night at 6 o'clock here in Council Chambers is a meeting of the School Building Committee. As they mentioned, this is when it gets to be fun because you get to hear and actually participate in them planning. At 7 o'clock will be the Athletics Building Subcommittee, where they're continuing to talk about the athletic fields for the new school. That's it.
That was brief. Good luck on that. There was no sarcasm there, was there? On that, is this where it gets fun?
I'm working with you, not against you.
Love it. Councilor Hayes?
This will be brief, too. The Constellation has departed
Quite
last
impressive.
Tuesday.
That's quite impressive.
Made CNN?
Very slow flight to New York. They said 15 miles per hour, although I think an aerial view seemed like they were going
Had a
faster.
flat tire on 495. I bet that tied up traffic for quite a while.
So, but, no, and actually, it should be interesting. If you ever travel through JFK next year, the old TWA terminal is going to be the hotel with this outside as the lounge.
It's a beautiful building. It is. That's great. A little bit, and it was nice in CNN's article. They mentioned Maine, so that was it was good to see that. Councilor Titus, you want? Yeah.
I have to plug in.
Okay.
My battery is kind of
Fair enough.
Not me, my computer. No, I had a couple of things I wanted to bring up here. We had another meeting of the marijuana work group, putting together an ordinance for starting out with medical marijuana in storefronts, cultivation facilities, manufacturing facilities, and testing, knowing that the retail side is quite a ways away. So we've been focusing on that first, knowing that many of the ideas we come up with this draft ordinance will carry over to the retail side once they finally decide when that's going to happen, which could be at least a year from now. I'm not sure. We're not sure when it's going to finally happen. But we did have a chance to look through a draft ordinance, and we were able to cover every facet of this particular draft and had a very good discussion and overview of what we were looking for and some ideas. It was interesting that a couple of things, and this is where it gets really complicated, is we were talking about things like odor control, but as it turns out, we also have to look at our current ordinance for odor control in all businesses because they might conflict. I guess it depends on what your idea of offensive odor is, and that needs to be defined, I guess, because a Burger King could be an offensive odor to some people. So we have to look at that, and also our sign ordinances, we have to look at that as well so that it can help fit in with this. But we'll be meeting again on November 6th, is it, Phil? And I want to thank Phil for his help and diligence in continuing to run this. We get great information, and this draft ordinance, along with a draft application, we're in the works. So it shouldn't be too long before we can actually have something that council can look at. So I really look forward to being able to do that. Coming up, we have the sewer and water district meetings for the boards there. Tomorrow is the sewer district at 4 o'clock at the district office, and Wednesday is the water district. Again, I think I highlighted before, one of the major topics is going to be the budgets will be presented, or at least starting to be presented, both tomorrow and Wednesday. And there's going to be a joint meeting on the 22nd in the same office, the 22nd of October, of both boards to have a budget workshop. So hopefully we're going to get on top of the budgets and get started as early as possible, so it isn't just try to pass it in 1 month or 2 months. We'll try to get a handle on it. So hopefully we're going to see some relief there. So besides that, though, I have nothing else.
Very good, thank you. Side note on that, if we have an ordinance, how much time do we have left in the moratorium? Off the top, do you know? It was a 180-day moratorium. I believe we started work maybe 3-4 months ago on this, because we did retro it to a specific date. And again, I don't think we need an answer now, but just something to...
I think it was June 1st was retro, wasn't it?
No, we retroed it before then.
It was a 6 months, so we might have to go back and look at it, but from whenever we adopted, it would be 6 months.
From the time we adopted, not the time it took effect. Because we did retro it back to a date prior to adoption.
May something.
So,
Coming up.
it's coming up. Let's just keep it on the radar if we can. On that same note, though, is it me or am I seeing new cannabis, I'm going to use the term retailers, or distributors or stores popping up throughout Auburn, namely on Center Street?
Yes.
And the one that we had problems with on Union Street bypass Center Street still has her for open sign on?
So what we prohibited was the actual retail storefront. That does not prohibit someone from what their current license is selling pipes or other materials or using that facility to meet with their patients. So the open sign is there. They can continue operating under that limited scope of operation.
Okay, very good. Thank you. Well, moving on to Councilor Fournier, please.
3 things real quick. I would like to commend the fire chief and his staff for an outstanding open house. I went, Councilor Walker beat me to the punch. I got there at the tail end of it, but there were many, many families there and lots of children, and it was a lot of work. You could tell it was well thought out, well organized, and it was a tremendous success. Look forward to it again. And I had told all of the the fire people there. I've said, having been an educator, when you talk with kids in terms of fire and hazards and being careful, the ones who usually save the family is the child, because they remember what you teach them and they take it to heart and they remember it just like that. So please don't stop doing that, because we really need that day. It's outstanding. We have tomorrow morning at 7:30, we have a Library Board of Trustees meeting, and at that library, we'll be finalizing the formation of an evaluation system for our library director, and basically that's that for news. And I did send to all of the council and managers and mayor the schedule of meetings, agendas, and workshops for the school committee. There are many of them, and please take a look at it and see if there's anything that you would like to share with me if I need to bring that as a representative to the meetings. There is another one. The next meeting will be held October 17th, which is the day after tomorrow. 6 o'clock will be the workshop for Vision 2030 and the graduation policy. And at 7 o'clock will be the meeting where we'll talk about fall data review and finance update. This is a 4-pager that I did send to you, and I would highly recommend that you read it and take a look at it, because there's a lot of information there about proficiency-based diploma, proficiency-based education. So just to keep you updated, and you have any questions, please feel free to call me. Call would be better than probably on just so we can discuss it if you have any concerns or questions. Thank you.
Okay. Councilor Walker.
Thank you. I also want to extend the thank you to the chief and all his hard workers that he had out there. They put on a great show that day for everybody, not just the kids, but even us grown-ups, I think, got a little excited about some of the things that we're doing. I know the mayor also was there earlier. He got there before I did, but we had a great time being there. The 23rd, there's a big meeting at Rowley's Diner at 6 o'clock. We will be talking about the intersections in New Auburn. Please be there for 6 o'clock if you've got any thoughts, ideas, or you want to see how the intersections will change the pattern down there in New Auburn. So don't forget that time and date. The 23rd is very important. The 25th, the Neighborhood Watch is at 6th Street Congregational Church at 6:30. We have Lieutenant Harrington there to speak with the community. If you've got any thoughts or ideas or you're having problems, don't be afraid to show up. We always have coffee and dessert and plenty of it. So come on and spend the evening with us. And on the 30th of this month, United New Auburn Association has its meeting. At 6 o'clock, we talk about all kinds of things, and we love the ideas that come about from the people that love to come and, participate with us with thoughts about the New Auburn area, Auburn itself, and then, of course, our good friends across the river and how things kind of go from one city to the other. And I guess the big day, I shouldn't forget, is Saturday the 27th. That's trick-or-treat for the kids to be safe. It starts at 11:30 this year on the corner of 3rd and Mill Street. All kids are invited. Both cities are welcome, and wherever else you may come from. You're welcome to come there. We enjoy that. We have between 300 and 500 participants every year for that. Rain or shine, we will be out there. Come, pick up a map. There are all kinds of things that go on, so you need that map in order to get into a couple of the places like the Boys and Girls Club. And the Parks and Recreation Department also helps us by participating and helping us get the information out and things that we may need from their thoughts and ideas. So 27th, 11:30, we actually start going up and down the streets there. I believe it's 12 o'clock, but come on over anyways, and we'll all have a great time. We'll have a lot of candy. Thank you.
Councilor Young.
Yes, I was surprised to learn today that perhaps churches are economic drivers. A coworker that I've known for 15 years or so said he saw me at a sporting event and was asking me a few questions about that, and said his son was going to Edward Little. And I said, "Don't you live in Wales?" And he says, "No, I just recently moved to Auburn about a month ago and bought an apartment building." So, you know, and basically he said he did that because he's so involved in his church activities, he found himself going back and forth twice a day, and so he decided he might as well just live here. So I don't have anything else to report, but I thought that was pretty good news.
Pretty good news. It's always nice to end on a high note. I'll turn it over to the city manager for his report at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate it. I'll be brief. The last couple of weeks I've been on vacation. I want to thank Phil for being the acting city manager and the Auburn team that we have here. We are very fortunate with the people that work on a daily basis for the city of Auburn. So thank you, Phil. And I want to defer to Phil to add any comments that he'd like.
Let's start that we're very glad that Peter's back from his vacation, and our team has been ready to kind of update on what's been happening. The only thing I would add is just want to make sure the council and the mayor and the public are aware. Our fire department has been out at the fire in Mechanic Falls throughout the night. Last night, when you look at mutual aid, and we've talked about mutual aid through budget processes, just this is a good example of why we have good mutual aid within our communities to be able to be out there. Our command center vehicle has been out there as well. They were able to set up a dispatch right there. Chief Chase was able to give me a brief update during our break. I just want to make sure I passed on that. We've got a great team of firefighters that have been out there throughout the night helping and assisting our bordering community.
And thank you for that, and thank you, Chief Chase. Please pass along our thanks and appreciation of the team. Also, okay, we're going to move on to finance. This is great. We're looking forward to it. Ms. Eastman, lay it on us.
All right, I provided you 2 reports. I'm going to only go over the September report since it encompasses the first 3 months of this fiscal year. Things are looking good. Our revenues are actually coming in higher than they were last year at the same time. Property taxes we're about $650,000 more at this time than we were last year. Excise tax continues to outpace my increases, so we're still ahead of the budgeted amount by about $23,000 this year. And our other big one, state revenue sharing, that's coming in exactly as it should. And on the expenditure side, we're below last year. The main reason for that is the county tax bill was paid, but it wasn't posted until October 1st. So it's just a couple of days difference, but if that had been posted in September like it was last year, we would have been exactly the same as last year. Other than that, I mean, I did provide you with all the other smaller Ingersoll and Norway and the EMS. If you have questions, I'd be glad to answer them for you.
Councilor Titus?
Nobody else? Because I don't want to take the whole show, but all right.
We'll cover you.
All right.
Fill in the blanks.
I did have a couple of questions. First of all, I was looking at in the manager's budget. I think I asked this for the last year, and I'm going to ask again, possibly if I could get a breakdown of. I know we took legal out last year, and so I'd like to have a breakdown of. It's in your budget, I understand, right? So I'd just like to see what legal expenses have been so far in the first quarter, and maybe quarterly I could get information on that, so that I know. But you mentioned that you answered my question about the county tax, so I appreciate that. I did have a question about the debt service. I would assume that we've prepaid some stuff, or it seemed like we're very close to our forecast for the year in the first 3 months.
All the principal is due September 1st on all of our debt, except a couple of them that are due October 1st. So the biggest majority of our payments for debt service is done September 1st.
So we're prepaying interest, so to speak, or is this for?
No?
No?
That's just the way we have a payment in September and a payment in March. In March, it's only interest. In September, it's principal and interest.
Okay, now the other question I had too was on receipts, activity in the EMS billing. We had, this billing deducts what we get, like when Medicare, Medicaid, or whatever, any insurance deducts, we deduct that.
Yes.
But as I understand now, going forward, this number is not really ours until we collect it. This is not necessarily collected money, this is billed money, correct? And then we may have to write off, like we did last year.
We shouldn't
Unpaid.
have that because we're writing off every month now. We should not have any major write-offs. The amount that's posted under revenue is what we've actually collected so far this year.
So there will be no more at the end of the year, like we had last year, had a fairly large write-off.
We were trying to catch up last year, and we wrote off about $400,000.
Yeah, I know,
last year.
and so there'll be no surprises like that, then we're just gonna make sure we stay on top of that, so we know. At the end of next year, if it's 700,000, it's 700,000, but we're gonna be taking the deductions monthly.
Right.
The other question I had too relates to both Ingersoll and the ice arena. One, I know it's too early in the season to really look at that, but I wanted to ask a question about sponsorship in both of those. I know that the season is really, the revenue hasn't really started to come in yet, at least with the ice arena. But I would think sponsorships are something that are an annual thing, that they'd be in place by now, and I see that we're down quite a lot on the turf facility so far in the first quarter, and in Ingersoll, it's quite a lot. We have a $300,000 budget, and we've only taken in a very, very small percentage of that. Does that mean that all of a sudden people are going to start paying before the season starts, or is there any idea what's going on there? Is there a reason for concern?
If you look at, compared to last year, first on Ingersoll through September, we had only collected $2,500. This year, we've collected $4,300 in sponsorship, so we're actually ahead of where we were last year. That would be the way to compare this.
Okay.
And then on the ice arena, we are almost exactly where we were at this time last year.
And how much did we take in last year?
We're at $80,950 this year, and we were at $81,868 last year at this time.
And what did we collect last year?
Total? I'd have to
look
get
at it,
back.
okay.
Yeah, I don't.
So it looks like we don't get our sponsorships until we actually get rolling in the ice arena?
I think they were all taken out at different times, and I think they pay annually. So it's staggered throughout the year, depending on when they first originally signed up.
I would agree with what Jill said, and I would just add that, as you know, we're going through a restructuring process in terms of the arena and recreation department in Ingersoll. So we'll have a Department of Recreation and Sports Facilities, and one of the things that we are looking at trying to improve on is the sponsorship area and how we're doing that. So we're having discussions on how to do that, and we'll be coming back to you with a report on that.
Yeah, well, I'd like to watch this more often because, again, last year we had a loss of $400,000, I think, when I looked at the final report for the year. Been running about $200,000 loss every year, and last year was a lot more. And this year I see that we have a total charge for services budget of $1.2 million, and we haven't gone but a little bit over $2 million every year for the last I don't know how many years. So we're still forecasting a pretty high amount, and I'm hoping that we can really stay on it and give us regular reports on how that's going on. And maybe we can have the ice arena manager or give us some reports on how we're progressing so we don't see that kind of thing this year.
I think with the restructuring and the way that we are proceeding, you can expect that there will be more regular communication and updates.
Very good.
That's what I'm expecting, and I think it's needed.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Any other questions from any other counselor on the budget? Excuse me, finance reports for the month of August and September? None being. Ms. Eastman, thank you very much for the reports. We do appreciate it. And yes, as you told me earlier, you are our biggest asset.
We have to make a motion.
I'm going to entertain a motion to accept and place on file the August 2019 monthly finance report.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilor Fournier and a second from Councilor Lasagna. All those in favor, please raise your hand. Okay. Approved, 7-0. I'm going to entertain a motion to accept and place on file the September 2018 monthly finance report.
So moved.
I have a motion from Councilor Titus and a second from Councilor Young.
No, I didn't get in on that one. Hide on
Like
the other one.
Councilor Walker, they all sound alike. Now, I'll do a call for a vote by show of hands. All those in favor? Opposed? Approved, 7-0. Open session, last one of the night. Open this one up to any members of the public that would like to speak on any issues that are not on this agenda. Please state your name and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Is there anybody? Anybody? None seeing? Okay. I'm going to bring that back, close down the open session. We have no executive sessions at this point. So, it's 8:21, and I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilor Fournier, a second from Councilor Lasagna. Voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain. We are adjourned.